Zanje Jodan Zoje Jonam La Janjo Barno Dane Jazo Doge Jinso Yibe Zonan Jendo La Benje Sanje Bar Jo Zimjen Damjen Dewan Dan Dewe Jodan Dembaranjur Dongal dan dongal jenju dan dalwaran juj dongal me ben dewan dan ban dan men dawan juj nyeren chada nye dan dalwe dan nyom jembo la ne baran juj jen jazal wa dan chu jen shaba jesu ye rang gu shen so wai Kiwa Jungsen Dage Jisa Tamjen Dage Janju Jirungo Sajin Beju Jushen Mendo Rira Linshe Nilden Genba Sanje Shindo Mikden Bulwai Logan Namda Shinla Jembar Jo Semje Namje Samba Loye Jeta Jendra Chejong Demon Degbai Chuje Kolo Gordo So
Namda Tsurim Sarjira Sashende Tenzen Pamya Zhilen Gubin Shirani Dena Vajuga Zara Tujun Dubun Dula Jazelo Dogam Jizi Sonwe Bajeli Sambo Jebe Juji Ingen Dam Gewe Yabdo Jujan Gazeso Nawe Zinge Jene Lodru Zo Rikam Sabi Mendo Dambe Zu Rimni Lamje Lorun Chimaja Dejen Gushen Jevon Terren Zebe Yonze Laman Joban Jela Nankhatanyen Besimje Tamje Tobjalaname Bayandava Zobe Sanji Comparan Bushineja Tobrenja Unyenbe Colonjan Judo Saltap December now show.
Commencer par générer l'esprit d'éveil. Sorry. I'm sorry about that. So please start to listen to teaching on the basis of bodhicitta, that is to say, with the wish to to reach Buddha, the enlightened state, for the benefit of all beings in numbers as vast as the sky.
Very good middle way morning. And we will continue from the last day. Dini kazanga zo ume ki tawa de la tugara ume tawa de la tugre. Dini ume tawa de je soji de kumbuluruche. Dini kumbulurup ki tawa shirap la sobe ki rikso truk tenso ki 당보 직대엠백이 좀다 된소 가기 요래 디네 대체라 아니 남베 좀다 아니 나니다 좀다 엄마한테 바까 니까네 다르 수수랑기 좀다데 시작이 요래.
So we will continue now with establishing the view of the middle way, of the Madhyamaka. And we saw yesterday that it was Nagarjuna who established the view, or who first developed the view of the middle way. And in particular, in the collection of texts which are called the six texts, which are belonging to the collection of reasoning, and among these, in particular, in the stanzas of the Middle Way, the Mula Madhyamika Karika. And so in that text, first Nagarjuna refutes the non-Buddhist tenets, the non-Buddhist school of thought. Then he refutes the various lower Buddhist school of thought, and then establish his own viewpoint.
Kongi ume tawa tensawe shugula ten kongi jesu changwe chidang ume ki jesu changwe ki loma mangpuji chungre ani dinane tatso kongi tsapto deta pabala kongshawe yore ni kongi ta shibjaba di ume tatso di umaza rikso choki kongjen do chade wari de shonde.
There were, of course, many disciples, many followers of this view of the middle. And the one that can be considered as the regent of Nagarjuna, his main disciple, or his main follower, was Aryadeva. So Aryadeva, his main text is called the 400 stanzas. And in a similar way than in the stanzas of the Middle Way, he also presents various reasoning that establish the view of the middle.
Ludupki zaduna shiviki umeki tawa tela ngoni mepa mawa ki tawa yang shuguyore.
So the view that Nagarjuna presents in that text, in the stanzas in general, the view of Nagarjuna can be called the view of the absence of essence, or the essencelessness.
Tendi nga su ji kare kongu go yoresana tata chumda oma kagirawa ka chawi jugula ta di ka chawi ke chumda de yanja legi mare ti sane khelengi mare rawa ni ma kage kane tama baksa chila payundu da chumda se de tindechini togo go yore.
So when we are saying that Nagarjuna established a view, actually what he did is that he refuted all the lower schools, all the lower tenets, but he does not affirm anything more than that. So he refutes all the viewpoints, all that the lower schools have affirmed, but he doesn't assert anything on his own. So once the lower schools are refuted, then it doesn't take up anything from this lower school. Once it's asserted, it's just left behind. So that's really a key point for understanding the view of the Madhyamaka. So please try to remember this. And if one understands this well, then there are all kinds of questions that do not arise anymore. So the viewpoint of Nagarjuna and Aryadeva is the same, or the way they present the view is the same. But then there were other disciples of Nagarjuna, and one of these disciples was called Buddhapalita.
Sanje Changde Luduki Kutus Yotaming Shirashu.
So it is not very clear whether he was a direct disciple or Nagarjuna or just a later follower.
Takandar Luduki Rixo Dula Lobjun Jingi, Takanda Umeshula Lobjun Nansangich.
But in any case, he knew very well the work of Nagarjuna, and in his writing, he commented and presented or developed that view.
네 공기 제셔비기 슝 우메기다 공부하러 루둡당 바발라 다소 루둡기 슝라 시샤네 부다팔리 생에게 우메기 슝 직제나레.
So he commented on the intent or the meaning that was developed by Nagarjuna and Aryadeva, but mostly Nagarjuna, and he composed in his own text in which he presented that view.
Tini degi shungi nangla yang kakwa shung dosa ma buta chirobe dundare nangbe dundama vetin sula shi da kapchunga resina kakwa dosa mambu chunga yorira. Tini kakwa jabe kapsu kakwa tangbu kakwa japsa rawa jete tongbani ngotu yorira. tongbani ngotu dangi tuyane tangbu kongi pena chashina kap yorwa kap de kap tongbani ngotroya la ni ko kap de songwa tsam ni tsam ma to yang kap de tinde re se chi yorwa musum tsema ki migla drone de ni kanse warta di tongbani she da tinde kongi nangi mare tongbani kare ngotroya yimbeki 추진데 송어점 대대조 가위요래. 마도 추진 코란라 이조 세메게 좀 만들던 저기 콜라 공격기 싫어 개 충분히 송고요 말이야.
또 다와다고
다와다고 찍버려. 다 지워버려.
So the way that Buddhapalita presents the view in his text is like Nagarjuna. He presents a lot of refutation of the non-Buddhist tenets as well as the Buddhist tenets. So he refutes all the viewpoints, and then he introduces emptiness, that is to say, the essencelessness of phenomena. But then he says, for instance, if we take the cup, he says, the cup is there is a direct perception of the cup. So the cup is established by a valid perception, but it does
디 무슨 체맥이 네 그 무슨 체맥이 두고 말했어.
두고 말해.
무슨 체마 공기 무슨 레다 말했어. 직다야 지어로 체막이 두. 딜람 조 주도요 말해.
주도요.
그 내가 동반이 가래 ngo트에나 대가랑 동반이 해서야 말도 딜라 당보 동반이 ngo트시게 시디 체맥 두네 체맥 두네 동반이 ngo트에 지어로. 근데 지금 난 말해.
So actually, it does not define the cup according to the valid perception. So he introduced emptiness, and once emptiness is introduced, then he does not add up anything to that or define on the basis of pramana, of tema, of valid perception, how that cup exists. It's just introduced as being empty. Yeah.
So according to Chandrakirti
Buddhapalita,
that scholar, his way of although Rangjuba and Tajuba said
Svatarika and Prasangika.
Although these two has no difference in the view of ultimate truth. But in order to introduce the ultimate truth, or in order to introduce the selfless path, there is a difference from the introduction way. For example, according to Buddhapalita, the way of his style, one could say, let's say this book or a cup, whatever the thing is, in order to introduce that cup in its own reality as selfless. In his way, you don't have to establish a cup in your mind. You don't have to define and establish. So that is not necessary. So the Madhyamaka is only to present the emptiness, not to establish
the phenomena.
Phenomena is so that is his way of. So he says that is what Nagarjuna and Aryadeva are saying, right? So it is clear, right? Okay. Then kongi Buddha Pali sing anzu pegi ge nana kongi samsha pegi chudi Buddha Pali rangsong dura. Yang Buddha Pali de kongi tsendo do.
So in Tibetan, his text is called the text by Buddhapalita. So it's also translated in Tibetan.
The Gandhar Degi Jela
And then there was another disciple, also later follower of Nagarjuna, who was called Bhavaviveka or Bhavya. And he came after Buddhapalita. So Bhavaviveka.
Sanjijangi deshabiki ta shondela tane this ludubki kumba mares.
So Bhavaviveka had knowledge of the text of the commentary composed by Buddhapalita, and he considered that this was not exactly the viewpoint as it was presented by Nagarjuna.
Tene konge karesong grasana ta didi ta umeke tawa jung bekapsu jeramawa tam dode beke tawa te jung tsasabari, right? Ni Quran soki chu karichi ngotre baina susum tsaweke tenzi yangda chila tene ani chu kare no ngotru gero. De nashin de pera shane chu tamje toni la ngotru baina susum tsawe tenzi yangda chigo yores. De songo yore.
So when Bhavaviveka lived, of course, the philosophical thoughts of the philosophical school of the Vaibhashika and the Svatarika had already appeared, and he knew them well. And so he considered that in order to present the Dharma or to establish the Dharma clearly, then it was necessary to present this through reasonings, correct reasoning that will use the three modes. That is to say that the correct viewpoint had to be established on the basis of valid perception, on the basis of logic and reasoning. So the school of thought that he developed is then was called the Svatarika. The Rangtong Madhyamaka. The Chulsum Danjawa Yore Yumara. Chulsum Danjawa Yore Yumara.
umma tajubate rangjubase da rangjugi tensiku go yodaro so tensira shago
And actually the name Svatarika means that they present, so they use reasoning to establish their view. So this is different from the other school, the Prasangika, it can be called the school of reasoning through the absurd, or by rejecting the position of others, by showing the absurd consequences of these viewpoints. So the Svatantrika have their own way to present the view.
인나야 타주보다 랑주바니 타주보데 상지장게 거든나래 인나야 공니가 게 루드게 숑 켈랭게요레 릭소도 던조 켈랭게요레 텐시춘봉아 대 켈랭게요레.
So Buddhapalita, who developed the school of thought of the Prasangika, and Bhavaviveka, who started the school of thought of the Svatantrika, they both were commenting on the viewpoint, on the presentation that was given by Nagarjuna in the collection of reasoning on all five on the stanzas of the Middle Way and all 5 texts that make up this collection of reasoning. But there are different ways to present the view.
That dejala level dejene 랑주파기 디 둠다디 정보라 되게 제라 드니 디가쇼 레벤 다와 잡아 정보래 그냥 레벤 다와 잡아기 아니 디가 상지장기 숑 로존나래 드니 데나신기 레덴지게 로존 가서 숑라 로존나래 데 공개 가르성으로서나 레덴지게 둠다데 네 루드게 공부하면도스 루드게 공부 뭐마데 네 상지장기 네 송당데 레샤스 네 상지장기 지수타네 네 루드게 공부 강의여 같은 탐제 우마 죽was네 탐제바레스.
So then after that came another Indian Buddhist master who was called Chandrakirti. So Chandrakirti, of course, knew very well the text of Nagarjuna, of Buddhapalita and Bhavaviveka. But he considered that the right way to establish the view was actually the way that was followed by Buddhapalita. So he continued that trend that was started by Buddhapalita, and he composed a very well-known text which is called The Entrance into the Middle Way, the Madhyamaka Avatara.
드니다 랑주보단 타주바 생이든데 신에 정당대 조디지.
So this is the way that we can distinguish between two schools of two sub-schools or two ways to present the Madhyamaka that developed after Nagarjuna. One which is the Prasangika developed by Buddhapalita and Chandrakirti, and one the Svatantrika that was first developed by Bhavaviveka.
Teni jagargi nangla da jagargi nangla ro rangchobadan tajubagi ta zinkin mangbu yore teni de shu chishure de mangchagi tajubagi tawa de jisu changu yore.
So in India, of course, there were many masters who then followed the Madhyamaka, the Middle Way, and belonged to either of these two sub-schools of the Svatantrika and the Prasangika. Most of them were following the Prasangika.
Tini panshore jela tata shiwala re kyasi shiwala ki tshepe chungju tenzu yorwa tenzu mangche shon de ki ta tenzu ki control tore so jabate tawate tene chongde yore
The Talgur.
tajurpe ta shon re.
And so this is the case, for instance, of Shantideva in the text that we are studying, the Bodhichitta Avatara, the way of the Bodhisattva. So in that text, in the chapter 9, he also follows the view or presents the view in the way of the Prasangika.
다 조진이 람나 다도 샨디 되어서 만칠 산지장기 지수 주벽에 로마다 그래.
So actually, in that text, Shantideva follows mostly the way that it was presented by Buddhapalita.
뒤에다 된소 만쳐야 또 루드기 숑기 다 들베기 들어가라 샤데로.
So it can be considered somehow a commentary of the text of Nagarjuna.
뒤에 드니 다 별라 아니 톰메 운맥이 아니 템바 제 종사도데 켈로 춘솜게 값소 정보제.
So when Buddhism was first introduced into Tibet, it was in the 8th century, at the time of the Tibetan king Trisongdetsen, Shantarakshita, and Padmasambhava.
드니 데디 딱 가서 결지게 아니 자팀 나라 자팀게 나라 자팀 like 팀이로 되게 나라 가르쳐서나 domjero ke tsulong ke domje rabjong ke domba 되게 lokte shetamje yoba mawe ke lograng che go yus ro tawa de ome tawa rang che go yema to jada mawe tawas ani dote pasen zamba maris so ome tawa de rang che go yus chene yores
So at that time, Buddhism was a state religion, or it was established by the state, by this king, Trisongdetsen. And so in the constitution somehow, or the law of the country, it was established that the lineage of the vow that would enter and would continue then in Tibet was that of the Mullah Sarvastivadin that we talked about the first days, and that the view will be that of the Madhyamaka. It will not be the views of the Vaibhashika, Sautantrika, Sautrantika, and Chittamatra.
The Lube Kinjin Shivatso Kong Umegi Dumta Tsankinchire, Dinani Uma Rangjubegi and Dumta Tsankinchire.
Shantarakshita, the Acharya Shantarakshita himself, was a follower of the Madhyamaka, and he was belonging or following more particularly the Svatantrika school of thought.
Chitang Rangjubadan Tajubasujite Kunzuk Bichani Yawaligi Mare, Dundam Wardrugi Chani Cheva Yunguyore.
So in general, there are no difference with regard to the way to the understanding of what relative reality is between the Svatantrika and the Prasangika. The difference is the way to establish or the way to present ultimate reality. So actually, there is no difference as for the view between the two. So that is to say that the view of the Svatantrika is not a wrong view. It's not mistaken. So in fact it is a mistake to believe, like some said in Tibet and elsewhere, that the Prasangika will be superior to the Svatantrika, because in terms of the view, the actual view, there is no difference.
Chidan Tale Niki Tambo Shugro Kazanima Niki Shin, the Konambosuki Dachi kachuji nang rishu de ngi uma ko le shege insi labde dini ngi samlo ge nang ga record resna ngi chitang uma singi de ja chongbo re kunzu tembe ge namsha da dan tembe ge namsha ja chongbo yendu dendu dini ga jingi ge shetom na samso.
So when I was asked to teach here, then I was asked to teach about the Madhyamaka, the Rangtong Madhyamaka, and so I thought what is very important.
Rangtong Uma.
Sorry, not Rangtong. To talk about the Madhyamaka in general, and so what I thought was very important to talk about is the distinction between the two reality, the relative reality and ultimate reality.
그래서 나 도당한 주 장주 선배기 더 파신도 된종 안조 용서 다도 여러 냠내양 지기 요래 이 장주게 쌤을 붙인 냠내양 지기 요래 대인데 대기 차네 야 동번이기 골레디고서 군인이게 발라 저와지 샤고로 동번이다 장주게 쌤을 붙이 된조게 저와 된조 마음체야 로마 당보든 줄 뺏갈래 요래 저와 샤단데 띵이게 디 내가 정보를 통해 된조 골라 셰고 삼성
Because, of course, in the Mahayana, in the way of the Bodhisattva, there is the practice of the Six Paramita, and this is very well known. We learn how to practice the Six Paramita, and also there is the talk about the explanation and the importance of Bodhichitta, the enlightened mind, and the view is about emptiness. But what is very important actually to understand is the link, or what is the relation between bodhicitta and the Six Paramita and emptiness.
이 마음체게 하모고도 가시게 하고 오면도 마음체들라 디 하고라 강에 체되더라. 된데 즉 야부 즉 셰싱의 즉 야부 모터 샤바이나 고싱의 즉 야부 고기래.
So actually many people do not really understand the relationship between the two. So I think it's important to explain that well so that it is understood also clearly.
된데 되게 꼴랭이게 셰고 삼수. 근데 양자 공기 깨져지게도 토픽 가리샤가스. 다른 게 코스트라. 토픽이 우마발 라인 바스니 팔라인. 양 토픽 가리랍 가스 저 망부 땅스. 직관양사스.
So and then they asked me, so what are you going to talk about? And then I said I will talk about the Madhyamaka. And then again they asked, okay, but what are you going to talk about? Then I said, I will talk about the Madhyamaka. So they were insisting about what I would talk about.
Then I lose my temper. I said very clear, you don't have a good ear? Or are you deaf? And Quran so itilayto lama jamba ke shendong kula sungudus.
And then they answered, yes, so Lama Jampa will teach about the Shentong.
Shendongs. Teni ngege jida rangdong ta shendong ke kejal shie ke samno khorang me.
So I answered, well, yeah, I don't know. I don't give much thought to that distinction between Rangtong and Shentong.
And the very first, I never thought of the concept of Rangtong or Shentong to be teach. I had not even one glimpse of this concept to teach. Since Tapka and someone else asking me to give a topic again and again, and also saying, because I was thinking to give a general talk about middle way, so that people can understand well, that can very much benefit, rather than going in the details. Then it's like I told you before that to experience the difference between different countries' Coca-Cola, first you have to drink once. Yeah? If you have taste, and then now you have to travel to a country and taste their own country Coca-Cola, then you can see the difference in the taste. Other than that, no matter how much you drink from Nepal or India, wherever you drink, you don't know much, very hard to experience the difference. In the same way, the difference is similar to Rangtong and Shentung. So I didn't have a concept of teaching that. I was thinking more to talk about general. Since he was saying that Jamba is talking about Shentung, then just to fill up his topic, I said, Rangtong. And that was a not joyful answer. That was forced deeply. Because it took me 5-6 years to understand Rangtong and Shentung. And teaching you within 4 or 5 days, that is incredible. Yeah, so even myself, I'm not a scholar, like graduated. I don't have a paper of scholarship. I just study privately from an authentic teacher and scholar master, but I'm not qualified yet. But to teach within 3 days is beyond my everything. And just to keep that in your mind, that I'm mainly wants to present the general understanding of the middle way. Right? And there was some question relating with that. So I thought that is not very important. Yeah? It's not like, when you're hungry, yeah, you have to survive. You have to eat whatever there is. Yeah? No, I want to eat from 5-star hotel. I don't want to eat this street food. I want 5-star hotel, the most expensive one. That doesn't work. You might get, in a desert place, you will not get any 5-star hotel. You have to eat whatever you have to survive. Okay.
So then it is very important to establish the difference, the classification between relative reality and ultimate reality. Well, in fact, even though we are talking about two realities, there is only one. The two realities, it's actually mental fabrication concepts. And according to the Madhyamaka, concepts do not truly exist. So it's different way to present, but it's not two different things. It's actually one. For example, if one talk about me, about one person, there are different ways to talk about me. I am a human being, I'm this, I'm that, etc. So there are different ways to present different approaches or different ways to look at the perspectives for actually one single being or one single person. So there are different ways to perceive the same nature, or what is actually one nature. And when one understands well these two perspectives to the one nature, then this one nature is understood.
드니 다티 싫은 망보 이게 최근에 대가르슈기로 다 제단 장주기 샘 림보체 세대 디다 티베트 춘부기 당보 주비기 고도데 디차고요래.
So without further detail about this, then let's go into let's talk about this more precisely. So regarding bodhicitta, so this is the heart of the Mahayana.
예. 드니 장주기 샘 림보체 기두 삼바 곤수 장주기 심지단 된단 장주기 심기스니 니 연구요래.
And so when one talks about the precious bodhicitta, there are actually two perspectives on it. There is relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta.
예. 곤수께 토니 곤수 장주기 심지들라 드니 면선단 족sem세야 돼 연구래.
And relative bodhicitta is itself subdivided into two, the bodhicitta in aspiration and the bodhicitta in application.
된담 장주기 심지에서 동문이 도백이 싫어지려고 고요.
And ultimate bodhicitta is the insight that realizes emptiness.
돔 잡샤나 아니 탑 인지층보다 시랍송도 시랍세기에 된다래.
So that is to say that ultimate reality is insight, is higher wisdom.
wisdom으로 드니 군속게 돼 닝지게라 신샤고래.
And the nature of relative bodhicitta is compassion.
드니 송도 족소나 신든 생에대 연구요래. 신든 표준 소바스.
And so it's by uniting these two aspects of higher knowledge and compassion that the perfect benefit for others arises.
상제기 티베트 춘부대소 신den게 남직 자기요래.
So the path that is presented by the Buddha is the perfect path that accomplishes the benefit of others.
신든 지야라 닝지면은 신든 기하고 자기래.
And to accomplish the benefit of others, compassion is essential. Without compassion, one cannot do anything, or one is not doing anything for others.
It won't be very much perfect, like genuine to help others. 닝지게 샘데 양다고 말이서나 되니 그 신den게 샘데 양다고 싫어하셔 말이지. 또 닝지 생에데 심지랑게 되라 주만만이 별로 끼고 요래.
So if one wants to actually practice the Mahayana, that is to say, actually benefit others, then one must, for oneself, accomplish compassion. So this is the essential quality that from which the benefit of others will come.
드니 신된 긴난에 초도 줘봐도 시럽게 신된들이.
And for the benefit of others to be supreme, that it must also be nourished by insight.
디라 가르스여서나 시럽 동반이 쓰기래.
That is to say, the knowledge of emptiness.
동반이데 가르스나 더당하나 또 지단 동반이데 지단 출라당이 지래. 출라당기.
So about emptiness, then may I ask a question?
뭐 출라당기.
Chiwatanken?
출라당기.
Chula?
출라 damage 신기.
Damage?
출라당 뭐 잘라 출라도 선수요.
So, sorry. Emptiness could be, it is not, it is or it is not?
출라라 갈라야 돼.
Destruction, destructor?
Just destroyed.
Destroyer.
So emptiness is, in one way, you can say destroyer, destroying the perfection. 디 간데레스나 ngaransu 다다 pena chashana rapidisha. 너무 대송스러운 이상도 당되고.
So we could say that emptiness is a destroyer. So to understand this, I will give an example.
배나 부구 충충지요. 답변은 부구 충충 말에 수인하러.
For instance, we can take a small child. Well, actually, it doesn't have to be a small child, just anyone.
배나 산이나니 무비 사버지 릴리즈 지요 버지. 뒷단도요 버지. 이나야 무비 통요 말에. 이나 단도기 선바요. 단도 I want to watch 세지요.
Yeah. But there is no timer.
말에 곧다요 말에. 산이 무비 릴리즈 지요. 이나 단도기 선바요. 따요 말에.
Yeah. So that tomorrow there is a very big movie that is released, and I really want to go and see that movie, but I have not seen yet.
야 들어. 줄라 이나 excitement 쉬우지요.
But I'm very excited that because I'm going to the movie tomorrow.
드니 무비를 perfection 배하고 또다요래.
And this movie must be really perfect.
딱 데모다 생이질래 버지 주더라.
And then comes the time.
말이 주 데모 뭐 더다다요 말이 이나 미직 주더래 데모다 생이질래.
And then we meet someone who has actually seen the movie.
딱 거기 드시자고요.
And then we ask him a question about the movie.
거기 다 콜라 드시.
He tells us the story of the movie.
So he destroyed his perfection. 드니 배나 칼라 신부도 지어버지로 칼라 신부 지어버지.
Or like there is a very good food.
다 칼라티 사주배 신부요래.
And then when we eat it, it's really delicious.
다 미디게 디 칼라디나라 가릴루를 하고 해서 다 디디 딜루요래서 다 신발로 하고 좋아된 용사를 되는 신발로 하고 요래다.
And then there's another person who comes, yeah, it's really good, but you know what's in that? And then he gives all the names of this disturbing ingredients. It's like, oh, I don't want to eat that anymore.
Even though you taste very good, but you will lose all the interest. And again, you never want to eat that food. 근데도 다티 가르스나 못 되셔로.
So this is what is called an introduction.
Introduction로. 대나신게 다당하나 줄로 다 생이요. 또변나 딱버 생이지로 딱버 생이. 변나 나도 차츠나 나 충득 딱 만주 시야요 말에 챙겨요. 미드도 시야요 말에 챙겨요. 나 충득 없어.
That you don't know people.
I don't know people can die. For one example, for similar concept, when I was like a toddler, I don't know people die. I didn't discover yet. And the age of 11 something that time, a teacher, one of my ritual teacher, and he introduced me that people die and so on. The moment I heard I experienced through his explanation, and when he shows yesterday that person died, then now my
It could not enter into your mind?
I cannot accept. Then night time, I sleep in the bed. Okay, everyone dying. One day I will also die. My mother will also die. And father will also die. And all the one who is near me die. And sembato joya. Sembacho.
Then I was very sad.
Sad. 다들 탑지 여러에 직 세름부터 해야 탑을해서 다딩 나도 창말 찍버라.
Then I was thinking, is there a way? Can I do something about it?
드니 다 미닥바 꼴시엔데 딥 도소래 딱박이 되었대.
Then the fact of being introduced to impermanence, then this was the direct opposite, or what it destroyed the clinging to permanence.
드니 다 미닥바 꼴에서는 그래 망한 연구도와 빼 딘나신 시럽 동반 얘기 디스그래. 잘 내가 내한테.
So it's the same than this. When one truly understands impermanence, then there is no clinging that is possible to permanence. And it's the same with emptiness. Once there is a true understanding of emptiness, then this destroyed completely the clinging to things truly exist.
드니 디 셴차데 상만 도소나 then kroala ningbo meba kiyon kore. Kroala ningbo meba kiyon du then tarbagi samno. Yang tape tawa de du to kore.
So when one understands this, then the attachment and the desire we have for samsara is also naturally pacified. We can actually see directly that samsara does not have an essence. It's not truly existing. There is nothing that we can pinpoint that is there truly. And so when this is understood, then this is really the start of the way towards liberation. So this is an actual introduction to Dharmata, to the true nature.
Zimbabwe 도토고 말해. 뒤에도 인지민지 시럽기야라 동반이게 된 거고 동반이게 된서야 돼. 추탐지 아니 가서 세대게 등줄로 도시게 냠낸 등줄 가서 시바도 차고요.
So for this, if one really wants to free from the suffering of samsara, to attain, to reach liberation and omniscience of the Buddha, then what is actually necessary is insight, this prajna, this higher knowledge. That is to say, a true understanding of emptiness, of the fact that all phenomena actually do not truly exist.
Like a slaughterhouse. Simchi said, Shasandu Langi Mare. Shaped Chindu Langi. Then he shot Che, then patch. Then Regina Yang, Digi Kola Martina, Yang Shasandu, Shaki, Dunzo, Nimik and so, Tembache, Yang Shasandu Langi. Yang Diton, Yang Shasandu Langi Mare. The Karesana, Chick de Motor Vero, Chick de Motorello.
So it's the same that, for instance, with impermanence that I was saying earlier, or like with meat, for instance. If one really sees what's going on in the slaughterhouse, how do they kill, or how so many animals are killed so that we can eat them, then very naturally we actually are disgusted from meat, and we do not want to eat meat anymore. So you do not need to introduce to the fact that we do not eat meat, but actually the introduction to the understanding of the understanding of how it is killed, or of the slaughterhouse, naturally destroys the attachment for meat. So, of course, if one doesn't think too much about this, then there is the desire for meat. One wants to eat meat. So then, if that comes, then one needs to think again about the way that meat is killed, and then naturally again that attachment will be pacified. So it's the same with emptiness. If one doesn't think too much about emptiness, then naturally one believes in things to truly exist. So when one sees that one clings or one believes in things to truly exist, then one can think about, or like one can study, reflect, and cultivate insight, prajna, higher knowledge. And so it's necessary to cultivate together, actually, insight and compassion, the view, the knowledge, and the method of compassion. And so if one then cultivates these two, one naturally proceeds on the path.
라서 다더니 다 우메게 남샤 시엔데 가서 시람 지우 숨게 돈이 우메게 아니 남샤 시단 지요래라.
So when one presents the Madhyamaka, then one can distinguish between three aspects. One classifies or distinguishes between the Madhyamaka of the basis, the Madhyamaka of the path or path Madhyamaka, and fruit Madhyamaka.
양 따와 공부 줘봐게 돈이 양 시단 요래.
Correct?
따와 공부 줘봐. 따금 줘.
Another classification is between the view, the conduct, and the meditation.
년다기 쉬번나신 시지라 예원이체를 고야고 죄체도. 덴바니 시지레데 예원이체를 줌센데 가서 또야게 쳐도래. 디엔드 시라 덴바니 람라 덴바니 조라 덴바니 샹시다 요래 에나양 오마제나 시지 람지 조지래.
So, another presentation is between the two realities, the relative reality and the ultimate reality, and the fact that they are actually not different. So there can be the two reality according to the path, to the basis, to the path, and to the fruit. So that's another presentation. But the main presentation is that of the Madhyamaka of the path, of the basis, the Madhyamaka of the path, and the Madhyamaka of the fruit. And actually, these two presentations are one. No?
시지 람지 조지나야바.
Oh, is one basis, one path, and one fruit.
오마제나 시지 람지 조지래.
So, in fact, it is like this, yeah.
송사로.
Yeah.
와야. 드니 다 군주 덴바다 돈담 덴바 수주데 고 군주 덴바데 다다 덴딜라 고고요레 돈담 셈바 돈담 덴바 세데 되게 랑신을 고고요레.
So, relative reality, in fact, what is it? It is dependent arising, interdependence. And relative and ultimate reality,
되게 랑신.
it is its nature, the nature of dependent arising.
인주제레.
So, in fact, it's actually one thing, or the two are actually one.
드니 군주 덴바 돈바니스 파진 둘라잖아. 드니 얘기 드셔주더라스나 지고래. 파진 둘라잖아 진바처럼 서바데 군주 덴바제 아니 돈담 덴바라 니 삼된다 시럽 준주디 야마 차르초바제.
So one can also present the six paramitas according to these two realities. In that framework, then the three first paramitas, the paramitas of generosity, ethics, and patience, are relating to relative reality. The paramitas of meditation and insight are relating to ultimate reality, and the paramita of joyful effort is relating to both, or is contributing to both relative and ultimate realities.
드니 군주 다람 우마기 골라시기.
So this was regarding the basis, the two reality, and now with regard to the path.
디단 람기갑슬라 냠레라 샤고요레 티버침비 냠레.
So when we talk about the path, this actually refers to the practice of the great vehicle.
디엔드 다 남제 군족 덴바도 돈담데 바니 지단 지레데나야 다디 되게 된 신백의 체도 니 순고여와.
So like we said, in general, even though the two realities, relative and ultimate, are actually one, they are presented as two for the benefit of others, for the sake of others, to make it understood.
데니 티버침부다 덴반 가서레 냠레 간데지오라세디 군족의 찬이 냠레도 단지단 된담의 찬이 냠레도 단 예와진에 송고요레.
So according to the path as well, one can distinguish between the conduct according to relative reality and the conduct according to ultimate reality.
다 소수 지우다우치게 된담된백이 냠레데 태가르지 두고 요 말에.
So actually, ordinary individuals are not actually able to engage into the conduct of ultimate reality.
데 군주랑라 때네 냠네 샤고요레.
So it's on the basis of the conduct of relative reality that they first can progress on the path.
베나 전주 선배기 냠렌텔라 된담기 냠렌도 군주기 냠네 니요로. 로조 티보친벽의 로종요로.
So for instance in the lojong, in the mind training of the great vehicle, there are the two practices, the practice according to relative reality and that according to ultimate reality.
베나 로종 된데만 타와이나 동랭이 냠된데 조이 샤고요레. 로종 된데만 긴다가 동랭이 냠네 조이 샤고레. 동랭이 냠렌테 아니 미망치 된담들을 하고 고고 말해. 데 미트도 삼지 군주라 박차여도 데 동랭데 아니 냠렌 지어나를 하고 여도 동랭이 냠렌데 조고 숨고요레.
So if one take the main practice of the mind training of lojong, it's a practice of tonglen, of giving and receiving, and giving and taking. And of course, there are the two aspects of ultimate reality and relative reality. But for ordinary individual, it is actually very difficult to practice according to ultimate reality. So the main practice is according to relative reality. And it's the same also in the Bodhichitta Avatar. The main thing that is taught in the Bodhichitta Avatar is the training in relative bodhicitta.
다 군주 덴바르 때네 가는 냠네 제 쪽으로 돈단 덴바르 때네 냠네 가르치야 요래서나 군주 덴바르 때네 민지게 남양다 버치 니게야 요래스 네 돈단 덴바르 때네 줄지게 남양다 버치 니게레스.
That's all. So in terms of how to differentiate these two aspects of the path, the aspects of the conduct according to relative reality, this is what is called the path of ripening, and the conduct according to ultimate reality, this is the path of liberation.
다 군주게 찬네 냠네 가르가르 요르스나 갈진 체인지로 바시스네 요레.
So now we will start, or we will talk with the first of these two aspects, that is to say the path of ripening, that is on the basis of relative reality. And so these are four aspects, which are four aspects that will dispel four kinds of adverse circumstances.
대가르스나 티보 쳔보 게 따와 가서 람양다 발라 쪼가기에 체도 남보 지den기 게 메테비초 베나 딱버스임바 테나싱게 코월 누동하게 나신레테 나야 아니 대와 년도 롬데바 테나싱게더니 폼보테 샤차 르숨기 라신임발라 양티 마릭 비왕기 장월스는 바데 나신게야 제랑라 아니 직 릭당 주든 저기 닝아절 여대 받든서 지대 라 랑신기 지 랑시들 하베기 여대베게다 릭든서 차데 요레 된서 당부 서베게 탈라 아니 가지 친절로 시스네 송고요레. 디 만체 우마 십자베게 나와요레. 아니 성도요나 텔스나 약시레.
Quoi?
십자바.
Shibgaba Tanishan, Dijela Karesanso?
십자바 나나 세나 약부레스.
Det kan jeg godt også. So to practice on the path, according to relative reality, one must remove or dispel four types of clinging that actually do not correspond to the way things are, to reality. And so what are those? So in general, ordinary individuals cling on the fact that things are permanent, that they exist and they last, they are lasting. So then one must cultivate the understanding of impermanence in order to counteract that clinging to things to be permanent. Then another way that ordinary individuals see things is that they think that life in samsara is actually pleasant. They cling to happiness. They are searching and they want to obtain happiness, and they think that actually life can be truly happy. So then one must be introduced and cultivate the understanding that actually samsara is not truly satisfying. It is actually suffering. It is dukkha. So one must recognize this, and this recognizing that samsara is suffering will naturally stops the clinging to things to be happy. Then a third way to cling to things is to think that our aggregates, our body, our mind, that are actually impure, that are actually a factor of downfall in samsara, a factor of contamination and suffering, we actually cling to that as being something pure, something important. And so we must also recognize that this is not the case. And so to refute or to dispel that clinging to things, to oneself, to one's own aggregate, to be pure, but by being introduced to the fact that they are actually impure, they are actually leading to suffering. And then the fourth way of clinging is the attachment to oneself, one's family, one's origin, one's belonging, one caste, etc. One has a clinging that one's kind, or those who are like us, are something. And so we need to be introduced to that there are actually no such thing as class, caste, family, etc., and or oneself. And so then this understanding will then dispel this clinging to oneself as being something important. So these four lines, or these four explanations, these four dispelling, or of the four wrong clinging, are presented in details in the text by Aryadeva, which is called the 400 stanzas, and therefore I really invite you to read that text by Aryadeva.
Dini nipa tunjin chanju ki simki simchi cheba su tenpa tiri. Da chanju simki nyamlen ta chewe ki toni shegi ro. Tela tini nga su tepa shimbe ki rinpa ma sona tambo chanju ki sim song, chanju ki sim rinpoche ki. Tini chanju ki sim rinpoche ki, nga su ka ju ra wala cha sunba ina, tata ludu ni ma ju shebe ki samu ta ju, ani tome ne ju, da jesu jamba ni ma tome ni ma ju shebe ki samu ta ju, ke ani tomchi ni yore. Tini tenso ke tomba ya shu. Shu ne tini lamde la raba. Tini yungu yore.
So then that is the first thing that one must do, that one must dispel these four kinds of wrong clinging, and then one must behave or engage into a conduct that is according to, that is conducive to the generation of bodhicitta. So then on the basis of removing these four wrong clinging, then one generates, develops the conducive condition that will lead to the generation of bodhicitta. So, for instance, there are different ways to generate bodhicitta, and that Yeah, so not different ways, but different lineage of the vow. So actually, what does it mean to generate bodhicitta? It means to take the vows of a bodhisattva. And so there are different lineages of the vow of bodhisattva. There is one lineage that comes from Nagarjuna and Shantideva, etc. And there is one lineage that comes from Maitreya, Asanga, etc. So there are these two lineages, and us, in the Kagyu lineage, we do have these two lineages of the vows of bodhisattva by which we can generate bodhicitta.
Teni nyeba janju ke sem ki sabe sem zon sabe chera teni te parshin la pas.
So once one has developed bodhicitta and one has engaged into the bodhisattva vows, then one engages into the practice of the six paramitas.
Teni parchen la judu zamba tangpo ta nipa choba paradu chimba solo la pa la ni sine to o teni teda teni tela ni tangpo chosa peki yela tela yela mangpo yore tena ta chigan kansu gore de yangshu choba la junju ki lukta to jana chosa yela ten yore ta junju ki shonten so ta teni jangju sembe ki nyamne ta kari la so patamje nangla chosa ge rimba mangbu song yore ta pe shiwo yongso trago de chosa yena denba dere
So in order to actually be able to generate bodhicitta, it is, once one has generated bodhicitta, it is necessary to gather or to accumulate merit, the accumulation of merit, to gather the accumulation of merit. And so there are various ways to do this, and various presentation of the ways to gather merit. One of the ways which is the most well-known, it's the way that is presented in the Bodhicharya Avatara. It's the 7 branches. So there are 7 branches or 7 types of practices by which we can accumulate merit.
Gewa Junse Daga Chisaba, Tamji Zobi Janju Chengo, say Tijeti Nala in Latin Matenro, Tenzo Ming the patient.
So actually, at the beginning of the teaching, we are reciting together a small verse in which we are formulating these 7 branches. So these 7 branches, we just say the name because they are quite well known. So the first branch is the branch of homage. The second branch is that of offering, of making offering. The third practice is the practice or the branch of confession or laying aside negativities. The fourth is that of rejoicing in what is good, rejoicing in virtue. The fifth branch is the branch of urging the realized masters, the Buddha, to turn the wheel of Dharma. The sixth is the branch of supplicating or praying not to enter into nirvana, not to die. And the seventh and last branch or practice is that of dedicating or offering virtue to the sake of enlightenment.
Passion to Chera. The Passion Rela, the Chering Yawa Sum Shasha. Then so Chikungura, Chiki Hagure, Yawa then so Pena Chimbala Yawa Sum Jabji Chimba, Sansin Chimba, Chuji Chimba, Sudena Nijudin Betsurim, Chuduji Surim, Dunji Surim, Nisubala Tina Shingi, Donghaltan, Nebatan. Shula Niebi Subas. The Jundula, Gocha, Jova, Tarshimba. Something like Nipa Pong, something, number Nibi, something, Jova, something, Shiraba to some consumes. 이제 손이잖아.
맞아.
근데 메시지에 개보시고면도 고난수 다 지금 롱으로 즉 차트섬지 요소는 되게
Then once one is engaged into the Mahayana, one has become a bodhisattva by taking the bodhisattva vows and generated bodhicitta, then one also engages into the 6 paramitas. So here I will just give the names of the 6 paramitas and the various classification or distinction into the paramitas, just as a refreshing of memory. So we will not enter into detail, but just giving the names so that it gives us an idea of what do we mean by these paramitas. The first paramita is the paramita of generosity. And one can distinguish between 3 types of generosity. There is the first generosity, which is the giving of refuge or protection. The second is the generosity with material things, the giving of things. Then the third type of generosity is the generosity with the Dharma, the giving of the Dharma. Then there is the second paramita, which is the paramita of ethics, and there are 3 types of ethics. There is the first, which is the ethics of the vows, or the vows literally means to refrain from. So it's the ethics of refraining from not negative, but from painful, or no, not painful, negative conduct. So it's the first kind of ethics is the ethics of stopping or refraining from what is negative. Then the second one is the ethics of gathering all virtue, all the virtuous qualities. And the third type of ethics is the ethics of accomplishing the benefit of beings. So refraining from what is bad, gathering virtue, and accomplishing the benefit of beings. Then there is the third paramita, which is the paramita of patience. So the first type of patience is to be able to accept suffering or to bear with suffering. Then the second one is to not be the patience of not be afraid or one of not going away from hardship when that is necessary. And then the third is the patience to actually generate certainty in one's mind with regard to the Dharma. So that's the third type of patience. Then there is the fourth paramita, which is the paramita of joyful effort, perseverance. And this is divided into 3 kinds as well. There is the joyful effort, which is like an armor. Like the warrior, they have an armor, so it's the perseverance of the armor. Then the second one is the joyful effort of action, of doing. And the third one is the perseverance of doing things fully or going towards perfection. Then there is the fifth paramita, which is the paramita of meditation. And then there is the first kind, so this is also divided in 3. There is the meditation that consists in abandoning what is bad, what is negative. The second is the meditation of simply resting. And the third, Rabjor is something? Rabjor? Ngamba? And the third is the meditation of abiding in meditation. That is not clear. Rabjor. Rabjor Mingawa Tang Chibare? Yinang Rabjor Ngandandaji. So to put much effort into meditation. It's the third kind is the meditation of complete establishing, or to really put not effort but to actually meditate. And then the sixth is the paramita of insight, or the prajna paramita. And this is divided into three. There is the insight that comes from study, the insight that comes from contemplation or reflection, and the insight that comes from meditation. So we will stop here for today. So there were a few questions that were asked, so maybe we will not answer all of them, but so we're not going to answer any of them? Asking if they have questions now? No? Okay. So we will not answer questions.
No. Do you want Q&A?
Also, do you want questions?
Not from Mike, through this. Yes, yeah. Chira ti yue.
Ngalame.
Yeah.
So which one?
Tiranya.
All of them?
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, I made this. I have it.
Chira you?
You. No, kakare. The kain kashe de those come.
Ina di Quran so nyeki le kanti yuna samgujira.
That's all.
Tende kiapaj me dubai.
So
당부 때려도
okay.
제 성당 인지기라.
The kakare.
닝버티 지나.
Okay, these ones. Okay.
유메.
You're somewhere. Yes, I have them. Then I don't have them on paper. Okay. So, sorry. That is a complicated one that I was trying to avoid. Dear Jamgon Kongtrul Rinpoche, I have a technical question. When we practice Rangtong and Mahamudra, how does it combine with a concentration on forms? If I get it right, Rangtong is a relaxed observation of the objects. How does it match? Rangtong and Mahamudra, 왜냐하면 제가 kabla, tene 나서 zugla miktu dans Rangtong 작창게.
디송 쇼. 지난 두순이 시라면도 지인데 동바 면승이게 렘표쇼.
So in general, because we do not have much time, the answer is emptiness. No, it's not that.
What I meant to say, since you have questioned, I will not keep it as an empty answer. I will just give a direct answer. The direct answer that this is not a clear question. And we skip this.
Then the second one is asked already.
So that is the answer for the first question.
Uh-huh.
And anybody...
Okay, then we'll continue with... So I will make a choice, yeah? Okay, we will continue. But this Detong was answered yesterday already. This Detong garere.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the second question is, what about Detong?
대동하단 저와레 대인데 다다 인식이미.
So the answer is, this is a question about the mantra, the mantrayana, so I will not answer it now. So then the third question is, in the last session, you said that in Mahamudra you established a viewpoint from Shine and Rangtong meditation. Would you recommend for us to practice these two meditation more for this sake? Would you recommend for us to learn more about the middle way, for example, by reading the text of Nagarjuna or others?
When you are in session of meditating, do that way. And when you have free time, to read Nagarjuna books.
Yeah. Then the fourth, could you explain the difference, and also the fifth, could you explain the difference between Vaibhashika and Svatarika? With regard to what is established. With regard to what is actually established as existence, there is no big difference. They both assert that outer objects truly exist. But now with regards to with regard to what they define as being ultimate reality, one of the differences is that the Vaibhashika assert that non-associated factors are existent, while the Svatarika do not assert the existence of these non-associated factors.
Okay,
yes.
This man mare. The Generatng
So, in general, so there are differences in with the Vaibhashika and Svatarika with regard to what they assert as so actually, it's with regards to relative, so that what there are differences between the Vaibhashika and Svatarika with regard to the relative reality, but not so much about what is ultimate reality. Then the fifth question is, can you explain what is the essence of the following four types of meditation? The building up phase, Kerim, the perfection phase, Dzogrim, the contrived unity of building up and perfection, the Kerim tang Dzogrim Zongjuk Chopa, then the uncontrived unity of building up and perfection, Kerim tang Dzogrim Zongjuk Machopa. Yeah.
The 당분이 대 상하니 중대 먼저 상하던 제외기 저래샤.
So this is again a question with regard to the practice of the Vajrayana.
당보다 니버대 요래 숨보다 시버디 같이 진속에 매답 제에서 말해.
So with regard to the first two type of meditation, the Kerim and the Dzogrim, or the creation phase and perfection phase, so these are clear practices of the Vajrayana. However, the last two, the contrived unity of Kerim and Dzogrim and uncontrived unity, this is not very clear what it refers to.
Didn't you make it up? Anyway, that didn't manche kirin the zorim kurana dudu yona.
So, well, if that exists, this is also related to Kerim and Dzogrim. So we will not get into details with that. Then the sixth question, you said vows are helping on the way, how can we take the layman, the lay vows? Is it a ceremony, or is it enough to have refuge vows? Thank you, Rinpoche, you are awesome.
네 가서 더 침받은 속이 돈바 쉬나로 접수 준비기 얘기 돈바 요래 소타르기 소타는 난다. 접수 준비기 얘기 돈바 요래 네 나지 난가 아니 상주 용조스네 됐던데 요래. 나직 난가 가시 용조 상부를 줘.
So actually, with regard to vows, there are different sets of vows. There are the vows of refuge, and then there are separately vows that are called the vows of individual liberation. And within these vows of individual liberation, you have lay vows or monastic vows. And with regards to these lay vows, there are different ways to take them. You can take one, several, or all of them. So there are subdivision.
양들이 ké 렌단데 rabjong게 더 임발라이나 침바인데 봐. 데 가로래 상주 버전에서 상부를 받기니 데 다와나 신레데나 양 고텐데 침바래.
So so with regard to lay vows, actually there are two categories of lay vows.
There is also
there is the Genyen vows, which are considered the general lay vows, and there is one Genyen vows which is called Sangche Genyen, or the pure conduct vows, which are actually including refraining from sexual activity. So it can be likened to monastic vows, even though they belong to the category of lay vows.
This ceremony
so there is a ritual for these kinds of vows. It's a specific ritual. English?
Those who question this person, you are awesome.
Then the seventh question. Pratyeka Buddha practitioner, who are they? What is their view? Thank you.
Dingsang Rinpoche Yori.
Rinpoche.
Bekera Chumbure. Kera Chumbure.
So nowadays there is one Rinpoche, is very well known.
가장 롬 유령모 말이고 로 니슈 숨주스 차외나 디가스 도요래 공중내 손대.
And apparently this Rinpoche or this practitioner, realized practitioner, Rinpoche, okay, it's a one Rinpoche, and he does not really have a teacher.
공중내 로숨주 나는 차도요래.
So, what?
Like he, since he existed till now, it's like 30 or under 30 years old, right?
That he became, yeah?
And his name is Google Rinpoche. And whatever question you have, you ask him, he will answer it. Okay. The answer the budget was
Okay, so that's the answer to that question. And then there is the eighth question. Why is it that human beings perceive the topographies, like water, mountains, etc., of this world in similar way, if all is only a mind? If hell beings perceive a river differently than humans, does this mean that they also live in our world?
직과까지 통요 말.
주어 직과 말해 동기도.
티 가르스나 샘기 계자 말해. 땡기 계자래.
그래서
땡. 류기 땡.
네.
땡기 쳐버리게 되네 강주 먼저 통요래.
그래서 이난 개인스나데 그냥 무슨 상마 샘직부 이나
아다디 샘점백을 좀더 송당으로 와. 디 코난조 가르스오스나 땅 안주 다 디디 만치 저 적당히 골라래.
그래서
다 가시 nga지 주지 아니 가서 공공알이 기바 주의에서는 여러 와. 된쪽에 그래르르게 감당 릭든들 마쇼연데 이 코난조기 감다지 가라야 버텔 템베기다 왕식 두고여라. 된도 수수 난 거요래. 에나 슈야데 셈지 슈거래. 데 강셔 서셔리비게 셈sam도 슈고요래.
네, 박살나네. Well, so if human beings see, for instance, mountains or rivers in the same way, it does not mean that they have only one mind. They each have their own mind, but it's because they have a support, a body that is similar. And so because of a similar body, then they see things in a similar way. And beings in the hell realms also have a support, a body, which is coming from habitual patterns from their past lives, which is similar. So they also see appearances in a similar way. So it doesn't mean that everyone has one mind. It means that the differences between, for instance, hell and human beings is because of their body. Their body is different, so they see things in a different way. However, their body is itself dependent on the mind, that is to say, on habitual patterns that were created in the past and are still in the mind. Yes. And then there is one last question. Which Nagarjuna let his head cut off by an arrogant boy? Is it the 600-year-old one? What is the teaching what is the meaning in fulfilling such an arrogant and selfish request? What can we learn from it?
What is the teaching to Kalaur?
The lutup de michik de saison. The lutup de sure de drugyaki lutup de
dati namdar segro 가시게서는 겨부 루드기 데이터다 자시 또 조보다오라 겨부 디주 상보 되게 세대 인송고요야 가시게 손손마다와 망부도
그래서 이는 루드데 루드라
수
우메 자와시아랍게 루드레
레 데 주고조사 권한 주고요
그래서 regarding that Nagarjuna, that was so that person who asked to cut the head of Nagarjuna, it's not clear who it was exactly. It must have been the son of the king to which Nagarjuna taught, or another person. It's not very clear who it was, but indeed that person asked Nagarjuna to cut his head, and it was the Nagarjuna we are talking about.
그 공부 조당 간데 저랬어야 돼 믹스 당한주 소리 내가 나한테 남다당가 다 돼버디 디랑에 마도 디라다야 심죽지고야 돼 심죽 딱지 나오래.
So regarding that story exactly, we should look into the different biographies there are of Nagarjuna, but this will need further research. Yeah, this is the same question with the 600 years or how long Nagarjuna lived. So this is a complex thing. Kandro?
King must have many wives since he lived for 600 years. So he must have many children from the queens, different queens. Yeah? Queens young get old and die. Then he never dies, so again remarry and, you know.
Yes.
Then the son, the prince never get the chance to take the throne of the king. So, and then one day, during the 600 years, it's just a story we used to, how to say, hear from. It's maybe for kid, or I'm not sure, but it is said like that. And the son wants to be king, and the mother, the queen, told him that you will not get the chance. Before me, there were many queens and many sons. They already passed away, and now you. And she said that if you, it is said that Nagarjuna will live accordingly. The king will live according to the Nagarjuna's lifespan. So if you ask him, not suicide, but ask him to give his head, and then, of course, he's a bodhisattva, so he won't ignore the request. Then, he went to Nagarjuna and asked for his head, and then the head was cut off. Then, the moment the king heard the news of Nagarjuna was, already gone, then the king immediately passed away. So the question is now, the prince got any chance to sit on the throne? I'm not sure. And I heard, the people were so upset about this news, and people tried to kill him. And he was not successful. But this is just a story. It is a beautiful story, but we have to check. Okay. Since we have a Google Rinpoche, we can ask him anytime. Yeah, thanks.
So nam diye namje singpa nyen tomne nye ben ranam bamje kega na che bala chuba siben solen rowa dolwar jo.